Okay, now we're entering part two. If you haven't seen part one, go to the very end, the last 30 seconds of this, and I'll put it in your top left hand corner. You can go to it, check out the first 45 minutes, and come into this. We just talked how apparently they used to worship or give homage to Fortuna in the Romans as opposed to necessarily doing it to Neptune in ancient times. And then one time that they noticed for sure that it comes out is that the Basilica of Neptune is located on Campus Martis, and it was dedicated by Agrippa, Augustus's close friend and right-hand man, to Neptune in the commemoration of the naval victory, which is huge, over Mark Antony and Cleopatra at the Battle of Actium, kind of ending the Greek thing there, and here go the Romans and so on. But won't go off into that. But it's a huge thing and this big commemoration about it. And at that time, they dedicated Neptune because he was the one that was responsible for the Romans' sea victory. Well, I can find at least three that I know of cases before now where they end up giving it to the sea god that's there. But it really wasn't that fantastic, I guess. But here's one that just stands like a thumb because you got any questions by now, blah, 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 they had it going on. And this is like 25 BC whenever they finally built the temple on here. But I believe the dating on it will probably go back to 200 and something BC where it actually uses the word Neptune as to a fortune in the sea and so on like that, as opposed to just saying that they had won and we did something for Fortuna. Let's continue. Apart from that, there's also a sanctuary to Neptune between the Palatine and Aventine hills, where a stream once flowed. This may be a reference to his role as a freshwater god, or more generally speaking, Neptune was the natural god for seafarers to pray to, as they believed that he would grant them safe voyage across the sea. In fact, this place was known as an ancient port at one time, and maybe that has more to do when it comes down the river then people are trying to give credit to it. It's amazing what they want to take away some seafaring and the possibility anybody had a boat. It's gotten quite bad, and then in academia you see it reflect back at you. If you look at this is a person. We're fixing to get his name here in a minute, but he was done in a famous painting, as a bunch of them were, and I've seen quite a few of them. They were painted as Neptune himself. They wanted to be painted as Neptune. This is like something modern day pirates would try to go to or whatever during that time. Yeah. So it's Andrea Doria as Neptune. And the Andrea Doria got named a famous ship that's known, but Angelo Berzino is one of the most, but probably the most famous example of seafarer portrayed as the god of the sea. In the end, Neptune's influence was greater than Poseidon's, whilst Neptune was not as significant a god to the Romans as Poseidon necessarily was to the Greeks. The former's legacy is felt in Western culture even to this day. For instance, Neptune is still associated with the sea and commonly regarded as its personification. For instance, Thomas Fuller, an English physician who lived during the 17th, 18th century, has Bacchus hath drawn more men than Neptune, or drowned more men than Neptune. Bacchus being in wine and so on. As more people have been lost to the sea than have drunk themselves to death, I think is the thing here. It's in Nomologia, a collection of proverbs. Here we can see ancient Egypt goddess coming out of the sea here in her seashell and her red flowing strawberry blonde hair. Neptune also became synonymous with seafarers who were sometimes depicted as this ancient god, as I said. That portrait that we just showed, or whatever, is arguably one of the most famous examples. Moreover, in 1846, a new planet, check this out, the eighth one from the sun, was discovered. Although the name Janus, for the Roman gods and so on that goes on with that, and Oceanus for the sea god were first proposed, it was eventually called Neptune. They say this was due to the planet's bluish color, but Oceanus is hooked up with blue, and Janus is said to have blue eyes, so why wouldn't they go along with that? No, it has to go along with Neptune. Why? Because in the ancient Sumerian pantheon, That's the next one in line that goes right past the person that's never thought of and you can't see anymore. That's Inky. He is Neptune. Because you can see Jupiter and Saturn, but you can't see past that. And then there's another one. Well, there was one before, Anu, the great god of the whole cosmos. And if we find one, we're going to take the great god of one of them that was a pantheon of everything, and name it On. Well, it'd be strange if we name it On. Well, how about if we Greekify it and we say something about like On, and then put us on it, like the Greek gods, Uranus. Yeah, we can do that. That just makes sense. Kind of fits. Well, one thing for sure, they ended up putting Neptune as the next planet. And they say you can't see it, but then now people have said you can definitely see it. And especially whenever it's facing us and at a post to the sun from us, or we're in between, like the moon gets, where it gets to a full phase. Whenever it gets around that, if you know where the hell you're looking, there it is. Very slow moving, but it's this wandering star. In short, Neptune is a figure from ancient times who still has relevance in today's world. His origin as a god of fresh water, he was transformed into the god of the sea through his association with Poseidon, whilst his Greek counterpart faded away into history, remained largely in the realm of mythology. Neptune's legacy continued in the centuries that followed even today. His influence can be felt in various areas, including language, art, and astronomy. And that's the end of it. And I knew I was close, man. What did I get? 6 minutes. If I just wouldn't have yacked too much, but hell, I can't keep from it. So now we see this connection, but then they told you later horses up here in it earlier, and then they didn't explain why it was later horses. Well, everybody tries to say later horses because horses came later. Well, did the horse people associated with their Black Sea and river god that went on like that, and was he associated with the horses? How would you get horses into that situation? It's a bit of a configuration. It's one of those things where you have apologetics and things about it sometimes, and people go, oh, well, it's just this. And you go, really? Because there were no horses. And he's an elder enough god, and this thing about associated with horses is almost like at the origin of when we know that horses exist. I mean, back at Trojan War and the horse and everything off of it, yeah, back in the old ancient tales. And people that have studied this real good go, no, yeah, that's from before. And they go, really? Horses from before? Well, there are seahorses, aren't there? One of the coolest Christmas cards I ever got was somebody sent me one where it showed Neptune as Santa in a sleigh pulled by seahorses. Yeah. Sent it to me. It was one of our big distributors, and they're like, thanks for holding my head above water and stuff. And I'm like, what? But anyhow, yeah, so look at this. I mean, this fine decorative piece right here, and they were able to shave through it just enough to leave blonde hair on people in 2 different tones, and horses the other color. It's amazing. There's a lot of pieces like this, though. There's another one talking about a Christmassy thing that looks actually like Santa pulling a sleigh. Yeah, maybe I'll do a video on it. Like, share, and subscribe, and enjoy. Thanks for helping me get to 6,000. Peace.